we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the using subheadings method of taking notes. Now, the problem with taking notes oftentimes is you do a lot of reading and you just simply write down either one, everything that you see without thinking about what you're actually doing, or you don't write enough. And so this method allows us to expedite the process, but then also give you the opportunity to be able to think about and process what you're actually reading. Okay, so let's go and get started with what this method looks like. Okay, so the what you're going to do, there's two different versions. I'm going to go through both the analog paper version and also the digital version at the end here. But I'll start off with the paper version so that you have the basic idea of how to do this on a sheet of paper. Right. So what you want to do, first of all, is to go ahead and split your notes section into two different columns, and the columns should be about a third of the page in length here. So I'm going to scroll down, and this is what generally it's supposed to look like. So you should have that column on the left-hand side, and about 2/3 of the width on this side. Go and put your chapter title at the beginning, and then we'll start reading. So if you go to your textbook, you should have an online textbook, or if you use it physically, it should be here. And so what you want to be able to do is to find the right chapter. We're at chapter 2, beginning of English America. And at the beginning of each chapter is a nice little picture, but then also a set of focus questions for each of the various subsections, sections and subsections. And then an introduction, usually a story. These are usually pretty good intros. So read it through. It'll kind of give you an idea of and set up the stage for the reading itself here. But what you should get out of this introduction, especially towards the bottom, is some kind of a thesis or where this chapter is leading as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the combination of both the chapter title, Beginnings of English America, these focus questions, this introduction, and not only that, but also the major section headings as well. So the section headings, I'm going to click the next section here, are the ones in red right here, where it says England and the New World. The section headings, and then these various subheadings. So you can scroll through and take a look at them. Now, what you want to be able to do at the beginning is know what you're reading. And so what you're going to try to generate from this is a thesis, a primary argument based off of, again, all these subsection headings, the chapter title, the focus questions, and also this introduction here. And so where you're going to put it is in a location where you have a chapter thesis. So based off of that, go ahead and generate what you believe is going to be the chapter thesis. So I have it up here. You can go and take a look at what I've written here. But again, you have and you may have different varying responses based on your understanding, and it should be unique to each individual as well. All right, so we've got the chapter thesis. We're going to come back and we'll check this later on. But we get to our first major section heading. That's England and the New World. So I'm going to scroll down and go to England and the New World. The ebook provides these nice transitions from place to place. So what you're going to do is with this, usually what happens is that there's an introduction underneath this. Or in this textbook, there's not as many. You'll see it in some of the sections, but a lot of times they'll just dive right into the subject. So this is your major section heading. This is your subheading. That's the term using subheadings. So the first one is unifying the English nation. So what you're going to do is, first of all, put in England and the New World and go and make the correct indentation. So I'm going to have Roman numeral 1 here, England and the New World. And then I'm going to leave a few lines, so maybe about 2 or 3 lines, where later on you're going to go ahead and put in what this section thesis is going to be. So in other words, what is this section on England and New World going to be? You're going to figure that out a little bit later. And so leave a few spaces blank, and then go ahead and indent over. So again, if Roman numeral 1 is here, you want to indent over a little bit further where it says unifying the English nation, which is the first major subheading and the first major subsection that you see here. So what you want to do is to read this section, and you want to, in the end, generate a 1 sentence, just a single sentence summary of this particular source here. So read through, and you want to, again, try to, as best as possible, synthesize as many of the ideas, the key ideas of this section into a single sentence summary. Now, if you want to go ahead and try it out, pause the video here and then go ahead and read this section and then go ahead and create a sentence summary. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, hey, go ahead and take a look at my sample here. Feel free to go ahead and do so. But the idea is that with each of these subheadings, that you're going to provide a one-sentence summary. Now, hey, what if there are, what do you think are key ideas, important ideas that don't end up in your summary? Okay? And so that's what this left-hand side is for. Okay? So whether it's various ideas dealing with some of the themes that we have in APUS history, or some of the historical reasoning ideas, like say, for example, they change over time, comparison, and so forth, or you see syncretism, ideas coming together, or you see unique gender roles between men and women, common phenomena that you see elsewhere, or just if you've done Cornell notes before, things like questions and the answers to those questions and so forth. You could draw, you can illustrate, diagram, maps, whatever it might be, where you feel like, okay, that sentence summary is not enough, then go ahead and put it on this left-hand side here. Okay. Now, this section is not required for AP US history, but again, this is good annotation, this is good note-taking, so please do add it in. But again, because of the volume of summaries that we have to generate, this is not required, okay? But you must have the single sentence summaries for each subsections, but again, this side is not required. Okay. Other than that, once you have this subsection completed, go and scroll down or move down to the next section. England and Ireland, same thing as before. This is now letter B, England and Ireland. In the same way, go ahead and read this section and then make a one-sentence summary, adding notes to the side if necessary. So pause the video if you want to go ahead and do it as we are examining it. Other than that, you should have, again, this section here. And if you want to take a look at my sentence summary, it's all there. So in the end, you're going to keep on going through all of this until you get to the end of this section. Now, in the ebook, it'll just end the page at the bottom here. So the last section is masterless men. And then finally, there's the next major section. But before you do so, let's go back and think about what you've just read, right? The section heading is England and the New World. So the England and its colonies in the New World. So what brought about this? Not only that, but it's also associated with the first of the focus questions as well, right? So the focus question here is, what are the main contours of English colonization in the 17th century? If you click on this link, it'll come to that section here. So using that question, using what you've just read, how would you summarize this section on English in the New World? Now, if you have trouble with this, again, what you want to do is just go ahead and answer that focus question, right? The main contours, right? How is English colonization shaped? What are some of the elements? What's the context that it exists in, right? And so here's my summary, but again, you can generate your own from there. But that's the basic concept. And then you move on to the next major section. Okay, so there's English in the New World. The next section, the coming of the English, and you do the exact same thing as before. Okay, read the introduction if it's there. If not, go ahead and continue to do the one sentence summaries for each one. Okay. Now at the end, what you want to be able to do is to be able to answer a set of what I call quick hits, or basically these are quick historical questions. Basically historical thinking skill questions. And so there are two of them. And what you're going to answer based off of the content of this chapter. So you only do this one time at the end of the chapter. Two questions. You want to be able to generate, select an instance, so a piece of evidence. So one item. It's not a summary. This is not a summary of the chapter. It's okay, there's one thing I thought about where it clearly either demonstrated change in continuity over time, or causation. Causes and consequences. So again, find one historical example and demonstrate how it demonstrated change over time or causation from something either within the chapter or preferably outside of this chapter, right? So change over time from something we read in chapter 1 instead. And then the second question deals with a form of comparison. So select something that you've seen here and compare it elsewhere, either within the general context or from another chapter and so forth. But basically two ways to practice these historical reasoning skills at the end of the chapter. Again, you only do this one time at the end of each chapter. Okay, so with that, if you've done it before and you want to see what this looks like digitally, well, there's a lot of the stuff is provided for you. So what you want to do is to go ahead and go to the assignment itself. And a lot of stuff is provided for you. If you want to review the video link, go ahead and go here, the PDF it's here as well. So what you want to provide is, okay, here's the chapter thesis context. Okay, so read that introduction. And again, at the end of the chapter, you may want to come back and check this just in case. But like we've seen, here is the major heading, England and the New World. Provide that sentence summary. So this portion should look something like this right here. In all the indentation space is provided here for you. Okay, the first major section, England and Ireland. So and so forth here. So you should be able to generate each of the various summaries correctly. Okay, and then if you wanted to go ahead and make if you wanted to go ahead and make some sort of side note, what you can do is go ahead and use this comment tool here. So the notes that you would have on the side right here, what you can do is go ahead and click on a particular item, some text, whether it's this here, and go ahead and add a comment. And then from there, what it's going to allow you to do is to go ahead and add that comment on this side here. Let me do it down here so we can see. So if you want to add in discussing the social crisis, feel free to go ahead and add comments here. And if you do, it'll show up exactly where you want it to. Okay, and then finally, what you want to be able to do is to go ahead and when you complete the entire chapter, go ahead and go through the quick historical thinking skills, and the prompts is here. Just go and provide your response. Again, these are only about 2 or 3 sentences long. It shouldn't take you much time if you've been thinking about it throughout the process of the annotation method. Okay, so this is the using subheadings method, and hopefully this was useful to you, and hopefully you get a lot more out of the reading than you would if you were just broadly taking notes.